If you're thinking about buying a home in Miami and you're totally confused by what you're gonna pay in property taxes, you are not alone. I think most people get confused by property taxes and most real estate agents don't understand how to explain it. So I'm gonna do my best to clear up some myths, show you how it works, make you aware that a little bit of it's a surprise, and just kind of fill you in about property taxes in Miami-Dade County. Stick with me while we walk through the ins and outs of what you need to know before you buy a home here. I'm Lily Cherobia, your residential realtor here in Miami, Florida. I was born and raised here. I was born in Coral Gables, grew up in Pinecrest, currently live in South Miami. My kids go to school in Palmetto Bay. Man, I run these streets every day of my life, and I always have. So I know a thing or two about how things work here, and I've bought and sold several properties, so I've gone through this tax thing so many times. I still haven't totally figured it out, but I have a pretty good sense of how it works. And I want to help you understand it because nobody explains it well.
Nobody explains it well.
Especially the Miami-Dade tax website where you're advised to go to estimate your taxes. It's not true. So stick with me while I walk you through how I would explain how taxes work in Miami. Let's dive in. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel and come back every week because I'm talking about everything going on in Coral Gables and South Miami and you don't want to miss a single one of them, okay? Have you subscribed? Go do it!
All right.
And then keep listening. Here's the trap. If you're moving here from New York or California or anywhere, you're probably thinking you're going to assume the same taxes of the house that you're buying. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. In fact, the longer the person you're buying from has owned the house, the more false the taxes are. And I'm gonna try to explain to you why. So I have a sample tax bill from a random house in Miami to help us demonstrate how this works. Let's look at it together. So every home in Miami has an assessed value. The assessed value is what the current owner is being taxed on. How the county is figuring out what this person should pay for taxes. Their value of their assessment. Every home also has a market value. That is what the county has said the home is worth relative to everything on the market around that home in that neighborhood. And usually, if this home has been owned for a long time, there is a big gap between those two numbers. So in this example, the market value of this random home is $1,079,000. And the assessed value of the same home is $453,000. What does that mean? Well, the county values it at just over $1 million, but the homeowner's only paying taxes on $453,000. Now, how can that be? Well, we have a really cool thing here in Miami and in all of Florida called the Save Our Homes cap. And what that does is when somebody buys a house, the value of the home at the time of purchase, not what they paid for it, but the market value at the time of purchase gets locked in. The year after they buy, that's the new basis for their property taxes. From that point forward, that number of what they pay taxes on will never go up by more than 3% a year. So if somebody has owned their house for a long time, especially in 2026, when our values went up, basically doubled in the last 5 years, there's a big gap between the two numbers. And now if you go buy the house, that assessed value gets dropped. A new marker gets set at the market value at the time the home gets purchased. And then it gets locked back in at the 3% maximum a year. So you can't base your numbers on what the person you're buying from pays taxes on right now. But the other complicated thing about this is we don't know what the taxes are going to be next year when everything resets. All we can do is give it our best estimate. So for the remainder of the calendar year that you buy in, you're paying the taxes of the current owner. But the year after you buy, so if you buy in 2026, you're paying the current owner's property taxes. In 2027, it resets. We can't know in 2026
Oh.
What the reset's going to be in 2027.
Oh, no.
There's no way for you to know what your taxes are going to be next year until next year, because we pay taxes in arrears. We pay them at the end of the year. So in 2027, in August, the property appraiser for the whole county will determine the new market value, which will become your first year's assessed value. Now, you can dispute that market value and assessed value at the time the notice comes out. You do have some time to dispute it if you think it's too high. But once it's locked in, it's locked in. Now here's where Miami-Dade tax website gets it wrong. When you go to estimate, what are my property taxes going to be? All the website's gonna do is ask you, what are you paying for it? So if you put in $2 million, it's gonna tell you you're gonna owe $40,000 a year.
Huh?
Because it's just gonna tell you 2% of whatever the purchase price is. And that's not how it works. So let's go back to our example. On this example, the property taxes right now are based on $450,000. That gets thrown away. We're looking at market value. The market value is $1,079,000. Now we know in 2027 that number is going to adjust when the property sells. It's very unlikely that it's going to adjust all the way up to the price that you pay. In fact, it shouldn't adjust up to the price that you pay. What I've been told by professionals who do this for a living, it shouldn't be more than 85% of the price that you pay. So let's say that you pay $1.5 million for the house. The market value is going to go up. Is it going to go up to 1.5? Probably not, but it might go up to 1.2 or 1.3. And that would be what your new assessed value is. It's always going to be the same as the market value in the year after you buy the house. So the first full year that you own the house, those two numbers are going to be the same and your taxes are going to be based on it. And that number should never be more than 85% of what you pay for the house. If it is, let me know. You should dispute it and I can put you in touch with the person who can help. So let's assume it's 85% of what you pay. From there, I would say yes, estimate 2% of that. But it's never going to be 2% of what you pay for the house. It's going to be closer to 2% of the current market value. That's what it should be. Some good news about our taxes. Once you've purchased your home and you've moved in and it's where you're living full time, you can apply for a homestead exemption. Your realtor should let you know when to do that. I send out all my homestead reminders after January 1st, but before March when the homestead exemption deadline is. You have a few months to apply to create a homestead exemption on your house, and what that does is it locks your assessed value in place, and now it won't go up by more than 3% a year. What it also does when you have a homestead exemption is it allows you to subtract $25,000 or $50,000 for a married couple from your taxable value. So you save $50,000 off of that assessed value every year to help bring your taxes down a little bit. We can get even more specific down the road and talk about portability, which is another video in and of itself. We'd have to look at another sample tax sheet to get through that because portability is complicated.
Okay.
But the good news is if you move from one Florida home to another Florida home, and if you've lived in the home for a long time, you can take some savings with you to the next house for another day. For now, just know you can lock yourself in with a homestead exemption, which keeps your assessed value at the market value on the date you bought it, and then it never goes up by more than 3% a year, and you can bring the assessed value down by up to $50,000 a year if it's your homestead. So I hope this helped clear up how the property taxes work when you come buy your house in Miami. Just to, confuse you even more, the governor's talking about getting rid of property taxes in Florida, which I don't know if or when that will happen. If it does, this conversation changes. For now, I've told you what you need to know. If things change down the road, we'll talk about that then. Any questions about taxes? I hope this helped clear it up. I think I'd boil it down to this. Don't trust the Miami-Dade tax estimator website because it's not really true. Instead, think that you shouldn't have to pay taxes on more than 85% of what you pay for a house. And if the market value is nowhere close to 85% of what you're paying, then it might even be less than that. You can dispute your taxes when your trim notices come out the year after you buy the house. You can't know what you're gonna pay for taxes next year until next year, unfortunately. So enjoy whatever tax you're paying this year because it's not gonna last very long. Next year it's gonna go up.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
And if you're still puzzled and you don't know what to do or how to figure it all out, call me. I can help. The easiest way to explain this is to be looking at the specific property you're thinking about buying. And then we can really dig into the nitty-gritty together. So I'm Lindley. I'm here for you if you have questions, whether you're buying in Coral Gables or Palmetto Bay or Kendall. The rules are the same. The millage rate might change ever so slightly, but generally it's that 2%. So call me if you have questions, set up a call with me on my Calendly link in the video description, subscribe to get more videos, and I hope to talk to you soon. See ya.